Hi, I'm Lou.
Hi, I'm John.
This is a video on perhaps a rather poignant question. Shall I tell my children that their father is a problem drinker? First of all, if you're watching this, then we understand that the difficulty of the situation that you're in, and I've been a mum watching my children try to come to terms with their father's binge drinking, and it is a heart-rending and difficult decision that you have to make.
Yeah.
I think the other thing we have to say is that we are not family therapists as such, and though we can put out some basic precepts here for you to be guided by, we say over and over again, don't we, in Bottled Up, that you're the final answer, you're the final authority on your particular situation. And we can say some things in this video that might be helpful, but only you know how well you can apply these particular strategies and solutions that we talk about in this video to your situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so I suppose I'm going to talk quite a lot here, having been a mum.
I think you're the first one to answer this question.
Yeah, yes. I think, first of all, that one of the things that we say in Bottled Up in terms of dealing with your drinker is that to get out of the way when the person is drinking.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough to say, you know, that to stay around with the drinker is not really helping him, and it's certainly not helping you, so yes, get out of the way.
Yeah. So I'm saying this first because I think when my children were very little, as long as I'd sussed out it wasn't a good idea, and I have to say, be patient with us, it took me a while to realise that the very worst thing I can do was to remonstrate with my drinker, which was the first instinct that I had, was to remonstrate with my drinker, what are you doing, and kind of saying, what are you doing to us, what are you doing to family, but it took me a while to figure out that that actually wasn't a good thing to do when they were drinking. And when my children were very little, I could kind of scoop them off, and I planned strategies in the end with things that we could do, special things. I would take them out for a walk if that wasn't possible,
yeah.
some if you like, some distraction tactics, and that worked until they were very little. But because the problem with children is they're fairly acute, aren't they? They're very astute. Not
yes.
Acute. Yeah.
I think that's the first thing that we have to say, is
yeah.
that the kids are not stupid. They realise that something's going on. They may not understand exactly what it is, but they know that something is actually happening. And it's mummy and daddy are fighting, or there is
an atmosphere
in the place. I mean, the kids sense it,
yeah.
you know, so I think that's the first thing you have to, you know, if you answer this question, then the very first thing you have to say is that they're not stupid, they know something's going on, therefore you can't ignore the situation.
No.
Therefore you have to do something about it, and that's, you know, let's sort of, what did you do?
Well, I think stage one was scoop them up, take them away.
Scoop them up, take them up.
Yeah. I think stage two for me was using euphemisms that weren't exact about what was going on, but to say things like, well, daddy's not very happy, and because daddy's not very happy, and mummy's not very happy. And so after a while, I think that I probably began to say, when daddy drinks, he gets unhappy, and then mummy gets unhappy. It's probably a good idea actually to bring a bit of drinking education, really.
I think this is a great time to have drink education, because it's something that you want to bring up with your kids at some stage. I mean, and this is probably as good a time to do it as any.
Yeah. So if you begin to kind of talk a little bit about the basics about too much drink, and then people get unhappy and drunk and whatever, then that does bring you kind of naturally in, and they will begin to observe behaviours with your dad or their mum, because it's not always dads, and will begin to see that parent plus drink is not a very good combination. And I think it's important at that point too. My son used to see I was distressed and begin to take his dad on, which I think wasn't good for him, and it did escalate the situation. So a little bit of basic coaching that it's not good really to confront somebody who's drinking and to keep away from them. You can use this actually as a springboard for dealing with antisocial behaviour as much as you can. Kind of flip this on its end and try and use it as a very positive coaching about drink, antisocial behaviour, ways to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes you into the next stage, then the third stage is, I think, as they get older, they do get really wise to what's going on. They also begin to form opinions, usually very negative ones, about what's going on. And there were times, and I feel to my shame, when my own reaction to what was going on caused the whole situation to escalate. So we'd kind of had steaming rows with the kids around, and at that point they might make me hear disrespectful things that I was saying to my husband. And I say that to my shame, because though I recognise that I was pushed at times way beyond my limits, in an ideal world I would have actually still liked to be respectful around my children to my husband, even when he was drinking, because they have enough problems with dealing with what they're seeing and the impact it has on the parent-child relationship without me feeding that. But again, this is a preset I'm setting, you know, a kind of a strategy, but please be patient with yourself, because we well understand that you're in extreme situations that drive you to the brink of
yeah, I think there is a real danger here, and that danger is that you actually end up having a sort of two armed camps, that you polarise things. And it's, I mean, you know, it's, as you heard Lou say, you know, it's something that can happen. You don't necessarily set out to say, you know, daddy is bad or mummy is bad, you know, but sometimes that's exactly what can come over. And it can be dangerous to set up the kids against the drinker. As I say, it's perfectly understandable that that can happen, and it very, very often does. You want the kids to continue to love the drinker, whether it be mummy or daddy, but it is quite difficult. Now, one of the ways to do that, as Lou said, is to get the kids and get them out of the way. Now, whether they're young or old, it's a good idea to make, if he's drinking or she's drinking, then this is the time when we go off and do something together.
Yeah, in fact, my kids got really wise to this.
You put you know, you start to make it a positive rather than a negative.
Yeah, I was going to say, my kids got really wise to this, and actually they found out that usually they could get the new computer game from their father after the binging.
But I think, you know, if we're going to sort of bring this to a close, I think what we need to say is that we're not an expert on your kids, you are. And you need to say, well, to yourself, you know, how much can they, you know, they understand, how much can they not understand, how much should you tell them, how much should you not tell them. And I think you're probably an expert on this, rather than us. What you have to understand is that they know that something's going on. This is a good time for alcohol education. It may be a good time to, you know, starting to bond, to do some positive things together as a family. And if you get into love and share, then you see that what we try to do is we try to bring the whole family together, you know, during the optimising of time when they're sober, and trying to make it you know, these are positive events when they're not drinking. And maybe when you get kids, that becomes even more important.
And try and get a balance, really. You need to kind of listen to how they feel about the situation. It may be helpful for them to listen to how you feel about the situation, but try not to offload too much on your children. It's much more healthy if you can go and get your support elsewhere, so that you can remain steady, because you probably are the stable influence within your home. Also encourage them as they get older. There is some AA things, Alateen, I think it's called, which has got some tremendous good feedback, and has been so helpful for kids. So maybe you can encourage them to go along. So again, take some of these strategies, kind of make them tailor-made to your situation. And again, we wish you all the best, and we understand what you're going through. Come to Bottled Up. There's a huge amount of support and advice and help and strategies and tools there for you and for your situation. And you can, again, open up if you want to and talk to other people who are walking exactly the same path at you. And it's a great support to watch people help inform and a
lot of the materials and videos and audios is actually very relevant to the children as well as the you know, the partners.
Yeah. So we care about your situation, that's why we're here. We invite you to come and join Bottled Up, and we hope you found this video in some way helpful. Bye.
Bye.